Hello, welcome, beautiful divine beings and cosmic souls. I'm Maya Starfire, and this is Echoes Beyond the Veil. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I've asked Kevin Estrella to join me today to discuss his experiences with contact, paranormal activity, consciousness, and all things fringe. Thank you so much for everyone who has joined us tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm going to bring Kevin to the stage now. Hi.
Hello. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm
Thank
doing
you so much for coming. I have a little bio here, and I will do my best to speak eloquently and tell people a little bit about you.
Yeah.
Kevin is a guitarist and composer behind the instrumental rock band Pyramids on Mars, where he creates a powerful fusion of hard rock, industrial, and metal music infused with expressive lead guitar melodies inspired by the timeless works of Bach and Vivaldi. His newest album, Cosmic Angels, was inspired by his personal experiences with extraterrestrial contact and explore themes of consciousness, telepathic communication, and humanity's connection with other intelligences. After a life changing encounter with what he describes as an interdimensional craft in 2014, Kevin's journey expanded in remarkable ways through synchronicities, dreams, symbolic downloads, intuitive music, and ongoing contact experiences. His story has been featured in books by renowned UFO researcher Grant Cameron and author Sue Walker. And he has appeared on more than 100 radio programs showing his experience and research into the UFO phenomenon. Kevin's also a longtime host of Pyramids on Mars UFO Radio, where he interviews experiencers, researchers, starseeds, and other exploring the frontiers of consciousness and humanity's evolving relationship with extraterrestrial intelligence. Today, we'll be discussing Kevin's remarkable journey, how music has become a bridge for higher communication, his contact experiences, and what he believes humanity can learn as we continue to awaken to a much bigger picture of who we are. Kevin it's a real pleasure to have you here. Welcome to Echoes Beyond the Veil.
Well, thanks, Maya. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm very excited. You are the first person I've had back since I've been on a hiatus because of personal stuff. So I really appreciate it. And I didn't get to really. The first time I think I was the first show was with you on SNX too. So you're first for me twice.
All right.
That's amazing. And the connection was really bad on SNX, so I didn't really get to hear like thorough tellings of your story. So when we were on the Beyond Being Human, I got to hear more about you, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much more to him. And then, that's when our friend had suggested that I have you on. So welcome.
Cool.
So I wanted to dive a little bit into your first contact experience with ET. And it doesn't have to be the very first, but maybe the first that was like the biggest experience for you.
The biggest experience? Well, that's a good question. The biggest experience? Well, I mean, probably the biggest one was when that craft flew across my backyard on August 21st, 2014. So that was profound. That was my awakening at that point, and that was my activation. But things would not start to come to fruition or understanding for at least another 9 months when the first Alien Cosmic Expo came through. But that UFO sighting was life changing, because I waited my whole life to finally see a craft, and then when it showed up, I didn't even know what I was looking at, because it defied physics of what we know and what we see. I mean, this thing, basically the long and short of it was I came out on my deck at 10:30 at night. I had just put my kids to bed. And then within 7 seconds of me stepping onto the deck, there appeared from behind the tree of my neighbor on my right side this object that came out from behind the tree, at least from the light, from the angle from where I was, and it was about 100 yards away. And then when it came into view, it was this disc, this orangish red disc glowing like coals, and it had mist that was going off the top of it and off the back of it, like looked like smoke or mist. And at first I thought this was like a meteor coming into the atmosphere. But then I realized that this thing was like flying over the subdivision, and it was only like maybe 125 feet off the ground. And I was like, what is this thing? And it was only 100 yards away. It was really close. And I didn't know what I was looking at. I honestly did not know what I was looking at, because it was flat. It didn't have depth to it. It just like a piece of paper moving across the sky, this orangish red, this glowing thing. And I didn't know what I was looking at. And then finally, when it turned away from me and started going south towards Binbrook, then the light source of what it was completely disappeared, and the object itself was oblong like a football, like a seed, like almost like a seed, right? And then it was moving away towards Binbrook. And then when it finally disappeared, that's when I realized I think I just saw a UFO. And then I filed a report with MUFON, and I was freaked out for 2 weeks. I was like completely freaked out. I was replaying it in my mind over and over, trying to make sense of what I saw, of the physics that I saw, because it didn't make any sense. And then eventually I found out that what I was looking at was a plasma stream, and that's why it gave it that orangish red glow. And then when it turned away, the plasma stream disappeared, and that's what was explained. So that was probably the most profound UFO experience I had. But as far as like extraterrestrial contact, probably the most profound was the very first ET visitation that I had, that I was consciously aware of and conscious of and awake for during that whole moment.
Okay, before we move on to that, because I definitely want to talk about that. This experience that you witnessed, it was in your backyard?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you have an inner knowing or something to like say, not literally saying, or maybe literally saying, to go out, look at the sky at this moment, or it was so bright that it caught your attention?
There's no way I could not have seen it.
Okay.
Like it was waiting for me.
Yeah.
It literally was waiting for me. And that's what we found out, because like it came out from right behind the tree within 7 seconds of me stepping onto my deck. Like I step on my deck and I'm just there, and then all of a sudden this object just starts coming out from behind a tree. It was lined up, because the tree was like maybe 30 feet from me, and then this object was like 100 yards away from me. So it was lined up perfectly behind the tree, and then it kind of come out that way. So it was waiting for me. And I got more confirmation only in the last couple of years of exactly whose craft that was.
Oh, they like to do that. They like to be right in front of our eyesight. Oh, it was
Ponty.
Okay.
There's.
It sounds extremely familiar to one of my very first more profound experiences, and it was a plasma thing that I thought maybe is a like triple shooting star, but then realized like that doesn't make any sense. It's too low. It's going into the tree line. So I love hearing that, because I thought I was the only one that was experiencing that at first. Was like the plasma light that looked to be like shooting something, but too low. So that's very, very cool. So before we get on to the ET experience that was profound, I definitely want to go back there. Have you, when you were growing up, did you have any like paranormal experiences or ET experience, even minor stuff that happened to you when you were like little or
growing up? Yeah, growing up, I didn't have any ET experiences at all. But what I did have was, I believe, was a past life bleed over memory. This is going back to when I was like 4 years old. The year is 1976, and back then we lived in a small subdivision, and we had a TV in the basement. And my favorite TV shows at that time were Lost in Space, Space 1999, and the original Star Trek, series with Spock and Captain Kirk and stuff. And I felt it was something about those TV shows that felt like home to me. And I just remember one day I came to my mom and I told her, Mom, I want to go to space. And she thought, oh, that's so cute. You want to be an astronaut and go on the moon. And I was like shocked. Like, that's like, it was a real 3D Terran kind of slap in the face landing on my bum. Kind of like, that's not what I meant. I'm trying to tell something. There's something deeper going on with me that I'm trying to express. Like, I felt like space was where I came from, that was home to me. And like when you're 4 years old, you don't really remember a lot. I never forgot that, going like, it's, how old am I now? I'm 54. So 50 years ago, I still remember that conversation, and I knew there was something about it that I was trying to express to my mother. And I never forgot that conversation.
Yeah. There are these profound moments and memories and dreams that we do have when we're small children that stick out like they happened yesterday, and maybe even are more clear to us than things that happened yesterday. And I think there's a reason for that. And I wasn't laughing because it's funny. I was laughing because I had, very 3D programmable type parents too, where I'm trying to express something to them and they're giving me, like, either a slap in the face, put down, or they're just, it's like we're speaking a different language. So, man, well, everything happens for a reason, no matter what, I believe. So, let's talk about the experience with the most profound ET experience.
Okay, sure. So at this point, I had already been in contact with the Ponte, or at least I had been in contact with the Ponte through Sue Walker on Twitter, which we'll be talking about that. I'm sure we will at some point. Mm-hmm. So I became friends with them, and I think the visitor who I had, somehow I think that she knew Drudy, because I knew that Drudy had a lot of female extraterrestrial friends, and some of them were curious about me, and I had a visitation by one of them. And so what happened was, it was in my condo, or no, my apartment, and my bedroom is a loft that sits up over my kitchen, because I have very high ceilings. And one morning, it was early in the morning, trying to go back to sleep, and I was in that alpha theta state where you're just almost asleep, but you're not dreaming. And then I heard somebody coming up the stairs. I went up the ladder, and then I heard the duvet being ruffled around on my bed. I woke up looking around, trying to find out who's here, and there was nobody there. And I thought it was kind of curious. And so I decided, I'm trying to go back to sleep again. And once again, I'm in that alpha theta state. And then I hear my duvet being ruffled around. There was somebody who was in the bed, or on top of the bed. And I woke up and I heard it again. I'm like, and then once I wake up, I don't hear it. So I realized there's somebody trying to visit with me. And so this time I allowed myself to relax enough to, to get into that alpha theta state. And before I was even asleep, boom, they kicked me into this lucid dream state. And then I'm in this lucid dream where I'm basically, it's like I was exactly like if I was being awake, if I was awoke. Sorry, I was awake, and if I was awake. So I'm lying on my side, and I'm just staring out this way, and I could feel somebody behind me settling into the bed, kind of moving around the bed and settling in. And then they turn around, and then they put their hand on my shoulder and then push me down on the bed. And then this reptilian female woman sits on top of me, this reptilian. And she had light green, like very small scales, They were light green. Her head was very large. It looked like almost like a clove of garlic. So it had like a bulb here, a bulb here, and a bulb here.
Mm.
And she had this blue coarse mohawk. It was like horsehair that was hanging down over top of me. So very punk rockish looking. And she had these slits, amber eyes, reptilian slits. She had a very small dainty nose, and she had this kind of slit for her mouth. And I'm staring at her, and her, like, the physique was almost like trying to think of Mystique from X-Men.
Okay.
Mystique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So her body was very much like that. And then she takes my hand, and I see her holding my hand, and I could see she's got 3 fingers, and they're quite long, and then she's got these like 1 inch claws, right? She takes my middle finger and she puts it into her mouth, and then she starts sliding my finger along her bottom tooth, and she had 1 tooth, and it was razor sharp. And then at that point, I woke up and trying to figure out who this was. It's like, this is incredible.
Like, what just happened? Who was that?
What exactly just happened here? Yeah.
What? So when this has happened to you, were you already integrated in to ET and like this kind of community? Did you have knowledge about the different beings at all yet, or?
Oh yeah.
You did. Okay. Were
Yeah.
you nervous? Because I know that a lot of people are very nervous when you even bring up the word, reptilian. Yeah.
Reptilian?
Yeah. When you even bring it up. So, and I know that there's good and bad of them, because there's good and bad of everything in this.
Of everything. That's
realm.
right.
Yeah. So, but not everybody feels that way. So, but you were already integrated into the community, and
I was, because of the Ponte's teaching, because they taught, I've been in contact with them for probably like at least 8 months. And one of the things that they taught was the only way that you're going to have contact, ET contact, is because they have strict rules that they have to follow. Cause no fear, do no harm, leave no trace. Now, the last one, leave no trace, that one's getting kind of thrown to the wayside these days.
Right.
But the cause no fear and do no harm, they are priorities. And so I knew that I had to get over any kind of fears if I was going to have any kind of ET contact. And once I was able to get over fears and be able to relax, that's why when I heard somebody, I heard the duvet being moved around, I wasn't scared.
Right.
I was like, okay, there's somebody here. And so then they appeared and they showed themselves to me. Now, I've also had other ET visits where they paralyzed me, but they did that only temporarily so that I wouldn't wake myself up or freak out. So, and then they release that paralysis once I'm like, they're interacting with us. So
I actually have heard that before, that they do it as a so that there's no freak out. Which, if I'm going to be completely honest, the very first time, if I ever have one in like a physical form, not like astrally, I might need some kind of sedation, because I say I want to have it happen, and it'll be okay, but I don't really know how I'm going to react. So I understand that. So did you figure out who this being was?
No, I never did.
Never did. Okay.
I never got any more information from her, and she only visited that once.
Don't you love that? You're like, could you just leave a name at least so I can?
Yeah, can I get a name, or can I get a phone number? When
I go back, get some kind of Oh man. All right, awesome. So let's talk about the Ponte. You said that they gave you some teaching, so they've been working with you for a while, and let's hear a little bit about them.
Well, sure. I guess we should first tell the audience of who the Ponte are.
Yeah.
So the Ponte introduced themselves to Sue Walker, who is a professional telepath who lives in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And she was introduced to them back, I think it was 2013. I think it was 2013 when she and her husband were watching The Voice one of those talent shows, and she said, that guy was really good. I think he should win. And then this voice came from the Sandia Mountains saying, yeah, he was good. He should win. And then like Sue's like, okay, who's this? And eventually it would be Commander Tilcom, as you see here, introduced himself to Sue Walker. But he never gave his name at that point. They just had conversations back and forth. And then one day Sue gave him the nickname because she was tired of calling it the voice from the mountain. And since the Sandia Mountains the reason they're called Sandia is because that means watermelon in Spanish. And it kind of looks like a rind of a watermelon along the top. And so she decided to give the name, the voice from the mountain, the name Sandia. Well, Tilcom heard that, and he piped up telepathically and said, watermelon head. Yeah, that'll do. And then Sue's like, okay, who is this? And then eventually he introduced himself, and then he started to introduce his teammates. That's Tani. She's the one who wrote the telepathy primer. So if you want to learn telepathy, go to officialfirstcontact.com. It's available in 17 different languages, and practice, read the whole thing. And if you practice half an hour each day for 100 days, you will have some kind of form of contact. That may just be a spaceship that shows up, or something looks like a star, and you say to it, blink, blink, and then it flashes back at you. That might be the only contact that you're ready for at that point, but they'll work with you at, with your levels. But, for me, I got introduced to the Ponte by a friend who lives in Queensland in Australia. And he told me, do you realize there's a group of extraterrestrials using Twitter? And I was just like, no way, get out of here. Seriously? He says, yeah, that's Sandia Wisdom. And I was just like, I've got to check this out. And so I checked it out and was reading their tweets and stuff. And the way they spoke was very different than what regular people speak. It was very, very clear and concise with their wording, being careful of how they spoke. And I just found it very fascinating. And eventually they introduced themselves to me. They were getting kind of curious about me because I started to tweet back to them and ask them different questions. And then eventually I moved to the private, direct message Twitter feature. And then I started to have more and more private conversations with, started with Tani actually. And then she said that she they were curious about me and checking me out, and were eventually going to introduce themselves to their telepath, Sue Walker. Now, at this point, I didn't know that Sue Walker was the one who was actually typing all this, because it's not the Ponte who are running the Twitter account. It's actually Sue Walker. She's the telepathic translator for them. But Tani had not yet introduced Sue to me, so Sue is still staying in the background. Eventually, they set up a day and a time for a phone call, and then I got to talk to Sue. And then that's when I was introduced to her, and then she and I got along really well, and we just hit it off, and we've been close friends ever since. I think that answers one of your questions.
It does, yeah. That's awesome.
That's and the story.
Yeah, that's great. Well, anything is possible in my eyes nowadays. So even if it was a ET on Twitter, with the kind of technology that they probably have, they could probably surpass it and take it over and start running something and name it something else, like Elon. But anyways, so that's cool. So that's how you got introduced. And
that's how I got introduced to Sue Walker. That's right.
Yeah. And so did you have any contact with the Ponte further, like either astrally or physically after your
both?
Initial... Okay.
Both.
Cool.
Yep. Awesome. So I met the Ponte in 2016, and it was 2017 when major changes happened in my life, and I left my marriage, and then went and got an apartment, and was living in this apartment. And then it was during that first year, 2017, when Sue messaged me one day and said that I was on the schedule for a visit, and that I'd know that the Ponte had been there because something will be moved. And 2 weeks later, it did happen. So that's how it started. But I've had physical visitations from the Ponte, and also astral visitations as well. Or actually, not astral yet. That was lucid dream. It was a lucid dream state of being fully conscious in a lucid dream state, interacting with the Ponte. I've also had sometimes where it was one time I was sleeping and I was feeling very lonely, and then there was one time where I was in that alpha theta state, so I was not dreaming, but I was not awake. And then there was 3 Ponte girls who came and visited me, and one of them was behind me and put their hand on my shoulder and rested her head behind me. And then there was 2 others who were standing in front of me, just off the ladder, and I just cried because I could hear them, I could feel them, and it was so moving. I was just to tears.
Oh, I understand how that is. I get by beings here in the physical, when I'm really having a hard time, I can feel someone, being compassionate and sending me energy. So it's a really heartwarming experience when that happens, and then it gives you like even more faith and confirmation in that the benevolence of a lot of these beings. So
and there was another time where in this condo here, there was one night I was feeling very sad and lonely, and Thera up here, she came and she crawled into my lap and pulled her legs in, tucked her head underneath mine, and just wrapped her arms around me and just held me. And then I just was just bawling my brains out.
Oh, it sounds like my cat does that kind of stuff to me when they're comforting me. That's so awesome. You say they've been giving you some teachings. Does that happen in meditation? Does it happen in dream time? When does this happen for you?
It's in multiple different ways.
Yes.
Some of them have just been through conversations. They started with conversations on Twitter with Tani, actually.
Yeah.
And I had already released my first Pyramids on Mars album. And then Tani was chatting with me saying, do you realize that music can be communicated at a telepathic level? And I was like, no, I didn't have any idea that this was possible. And then she was basically alluding to the fact that I was already doing it, but I just was not consciously aware of it. And so I asked her, can you help me to develop this ability? And so then over the years, it was working with me in regards to communicating at a full emotional level, becoming one with the music and letting the music express through myself at that consciousness level, not at the physical level. And I've been told so many times by the Ponte that, Kevin, you play to the soup, you play to the collective consciousness proactively. That is very rare for an Earth Terran. So it's a great honor to do that and to continue to work at that level, to get to that level of communicating music at that emotional level and being in that state. But they've even wrote to me. They got to Sue, and then they wrote to me and wrote to me and told me of what exactly how to play tonal language, to communicate in tonal language. And then I turned it into a poem, and then it became my mantra in regards to how I write my music. Would you like me to read one of them?
Yeah, that'd be amazing. And before you get started, I just want to say that that's another really cool synchronicity, because some of the stuff I like to talk about here is like, I believe that we're all channeling all the time, whether that be other beings or our higher self, that especially when we're being creative. So the fact that you're channeling with your music, in my words, channeling, It's amazing. So it's spot on. Yeah, let's hear something.
Sure. So first of all, to explain what the soup, this soup is a very um, important image and metaphor for them. In fact, there's they take 3 days of giving nothing but thanks, where they go into meditations and to give thanks for everything in their life, and just be grateful, and just thinking about, just having gratitude for everything that they can think of to in their lives. But before they do that, the ritual is drinking a bowl of soup, which represents the collective, us, our connection to the all, which we call God. They call it the all. So our connection to God, the all, and all collective consciousness, we're all part of the soup. So this is what Thera wrote to me, and it's extremely important in regards to how I write my music. So she says, it's called Into the Forever Oceans. Kevin, you are moving forward, beginning your understanding of the vibrational impact of the proactive planning of intent behind your forward through time ripple of telepathic emotional storytelling. You have begun the, quote, soul deep dive, as the whales say. You have begun to recognize how important your understanding of the soup is, how your music literally ripples through the collective consciousness. When you go to the edge of the black, you go to your 9, your place of highest potential, where nothingness and everything exists. As a new thought or inkling for a song comes to you, it echoes through the soup to you. Add your interpretation and your emotional story potently to the ripple and amplify your emotional portion. Sing the strings, sing them with your tears, sing them with the greatest love that you can put into the intent behind the images that you are sharing. Tell a visual story and an emotional story with your guitar. The chords, in reality, are complex emotion-filled murals. Make every note count, like the brush strokes of a painting and the tremble of an emotionally laden voice. Your strings and your heart must merge. Send your songs into the forever oceans.
Oh, wow. That's so beautiful. Oh, I love how you're not only talking about the collective, but you're merging with your instrument. And yeah, that's beautiful. Um, your highest potential being your 9. That part really stuck out to me. What does that? I have an idea what it means, but could you tell us what it means if you can?
Think of Tesla.
Okay.
If you knew the secret behind 3, 6, and 9, you'll understand the universe.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, I see. That's a frequency thing then, yeah?
It's
Or even
a
more.
lot more than that.
Okay. Cool.
But a lot of numbers connect to 3, 6, and 9. If you understood that, we're understanding frequency and geometry and stuff like that, that all connects. But your 9, this is something that Tesla talked about, and that's what the Ponte talk about too. She said, follow your 9.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, because I was going to ask you, but then I decided not to. I don't know. I was going to ask you to maybe play some music, but I was like, no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to push too much. So thank you for reading that.
It won't sound good on these little speakers here.
Yeah, that's what I've heard before too. So, so the Ponte, these beings, besides your obvious connection to them, is there a lineage connection or a soul or DNA connection at all to them? Or is there a different group of beings that you consider that, or do you consider that a thing for yourself?
Well, the Ponte, what I found out was that the Ponte, the ship that flew across my backyard August 21st, 2014, they confirmed that, yes, that was a Ponte ship. They have also mentioned that many of their Twitter followers, they've known them since they were children. So, but they've known them. So I know that I'm one of the ones, because what the Ponte told me was that we may have been the ones who've flown across your backyard, but it was the Jalohu star nations who have been following you and your family's lineage. Now the Jalohu are Zetas, like the Ponte, except they're more like 6-7 feet tall. They're very, very tall. But what they said was that the Jalohu have been following my family lineage for 250 years. Now, the significance of that was because when I came back from Albuquerque, New Mexico, after Sue had talked to the mountain, and it was Newall who told us this information, and I shared it with my parents. And then I could see the wheels turning in my mom's head. And you have to understand, my grandmother, so my mother's mother, spent a decade researching our family lineage. And on my mother's side, we are the direct descendants of General de Gras, who was a French general who was instrumental in helping George Washington during the war. My mother has a book, which is a collection of letters going back and forth between General de Gras and George Washington. Our family is, we are direct descendants of General de Gras. So when I told my mother what they said, and this is like 3 years ago, and I said, they're like, they've been following us for 250 years. And she said, Kevin, do you realize the most important year of General de Gras, of life was like the year 1776 or something, she had said. And she said, that's 3 years off of 250. And so that made sense. All of a sudden, okay, now that makes sense. So you can't make this stuff up.
No, that's absolutely amazing. I've often wondered about my family's lineage, because they say that it usually follows the bloodlines,
Yes.
right? And none of my family were ever open enough to ever talk about any of this. So the fact that you could make that correlation, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to go into a little bit about you touched on 3 different beings. Has there been any other ETs that you've come into contact with?
Oh yes. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
So obviously the Ponte, there was that reptilian, but I believe that reptilian, she's actually a sauroid, because when I talked to my buddy from Australia, and he had telepathically communicated with he's telepathically in touch with a tall white extraterrestrial. The tall whites are like humanoid, but they live very, very long. And the information that we got from her was that this was a sauroid. So she's actually indigenous to Earth, and I believe she lives, under the ground, was the one that visited me. You have to understand there's many different types of, reptilians. So, there's reptilians, there's repterans, and sauroids. Repterans and sauroids are actually indigenous to Earth. They're from here. So they're not extraterrestrial. So got to keep that in mind. There's many different types of reptilians. The reptilians are abundant throughout, the galaxies. And there, are many benevolent reptilians who are very highly evolved, very spiritually evolved as well. So you can't lump all reptilians into one box.
Yeah.
That's a cosmic prejudice. You just can't do that.
Yeah. We could very easily be lumped in a box for being human on Earth too. So I think I might just put that out there, because we don't look like the best species in the galaxy right now, to be completely
I would
honest.
be very embarrassed.
Yeah.
Now the other ETs who I've had contact with have been I've had 3 contacts from mantis beings. an Umo, which are humans from the Virgo sector, and an Arcturian's peoples. So she's an Arcturian hybrid. Her name, and she called herself Flaley. Her portrait's up here. Maybe I can just kind of poke up here.
Yeah.
Can you see at the top up there? She's got blue skin.
A little bit, yeah.
And she's got blue skin and amber eyes. She has cat eyes, and she's a blend. And her name is Flaley. She visited me twice. I've also had visitation. I had a connection with a Alpha Draconian reptilian. That was a benevolent one. That was an interesting experience. Who else? Some of them just use telepathic screenings, so they'll appear as somebody else, and hide their true identities. I mean, I had one show up, and she looked like actress Holly Berry.
Oh.
Yeah, Holly Berry. Yeah. I also had one show up. Remember, you look to be about my age. Do you remember back in the 80s, the TV show Alf?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the Muppet Alf, I had one show up as him.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. We were interacting in the astral, and he was sitting on top of my bed frame, and I'm just looking up at him, and we're having a conversation. I swear to God.
That's
Do you
so
remember?
fun.
And then remember the movie Paul, the ET?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I had one who showed up as Paul.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
So it just really depends on themselves, if they want to show up as as something as familiar to you, so that their actual appearance doesn't freak you out. It just depends. I had one show up one time. It could have been a telepathic screening, and it could have been a mixture of several, or it just could have been that's exactly what she looked like. Mm-hmm. But she was she looked like a pig, but she was the size of a human, and she looked like kind of like Miss Piggy, but she had the forehead of a Klingon, so that bony plate of a Klingon. So imagine a pig person with a Klingon plate on top of their head.
That's interesting, because I've seen someone when I was young. I was able to see true forms every now and then, and I saw someone with a pig head and face, and my mom tried to convince me that it was a mask or something, or it was my imagination. So that's interesting that you said that. Benno has a question. Do you know what race, or maybe your opinion, I don't yet, what race the royal families would be?
The royal families in England?
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea, but I really don't know, unfortunately. Yeah.
I feel like they're the negative reptilians, but they're just that could be all humans too.
It could be, yeah. It could be.
And so your Arcturian, I'm sorry, her name is what again?
Flaley.
Flaley with an F.
Yes. With a TH.
Oh, Flaley.
Yes.
Yeah. You said she's a blend, so does that mean she's like a hybrid?
That's right.
Is she tall? One of my guides is Arcturian, and she's very tall. So, and there's conflicting information out in our community about their height. And I was just curious, just for my curiosity.
From the 2 times that I met with her, her height was just shorter of me. So
okay.
Maybe like 5'5".
Okay. All right. Cool. That was just for me, guys. Sorry. I was being selfish.
Good question. It's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah. And they are beautiful, huh? The Arcturian, I don't know.
She was gorgeous. I mean, well, here, I'm going to bring the phone up so you can actually see what she looks like. We got to talk about her now, okay?
Yeah, it looks very similar. Very beautiful.
So she had very soft cheeks, and you can see her eyes are like, those are not reptilian eyes; those are cat eyes. So she's
Yeah,
part Lyran.
that's beautiful.
Yeah, and her head went back, blue
Mhm.
skin, and she had a coarse. When I touched her arms, there was coarse horsehair, where it felt not horsehair. No, it was just coarse. She had coarse hair on her arms, and her skin was
Oh,
cool to the touch.
oh, interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was something else. But the way that she introduced herself is very, very curious.
Okay.
So I might as well share what happened with that because
Yeah.
it's very
Let's
curious.
hear about it.
Get this straight out here. So what happened was she it happened in the lucid dream state, but before I even was asleep, I felt somebody gently touch my arm like this. Just went like that, and I went, "Holy cow, somebody's here!" And it felt very feminine. I could feel that. I could feel the energy that was very feminine. And so then I let myself fall into this dream state, and then immediately there was somebody. It was like being awake again, but like being in my bedroom, like I was awake, but I was asleep. And then somebody is crawling under the bed sheets. They were crawling under the bed sheets. I could not see them. And then at that point, I realized that I was paralyzed and I was choking on the back of my tongue. So at that point there, um, she released the paralysis enough just for me to be able to tilt my head back so I could breathe without falling asleep or without waking up. And then boom, she pulled me back into that dream state. And then I couldn't see her yet. And then she jumped up from underneath the bed sheets with this, like hello, it's me, surprise, it's me. Like she didn't say anything. It's just like that, like if she and I had already met at some point. you know
Yeah.
that was the strangest, like that's the strangest thing, the way she introduced herself. So it's like she and I obviously had met somewhere before, and then she
Yeah.
came as a surprise visit, literally.
Yeah. That's amazing, though. Well, you probably do know her very, very well. I mean, that's, yeah,
I just
especially
wish they'd allow
an
us to
intimate.
remember.
Yeah.
Jeez.
You're like, can we just think that I forgot everything? So next time, just like introduce. I don't know. It's a very intimate place to meet too. Um, so you must be very good friends. Yeah, I think that a lot of them have really good sense of humor, though. A lot of these beings. I
Yeah.
have quite a few that are like really sarcastic, really funny. So
Well, the
that's
Ponte, they're sarcastic, all right.
are they? Oh, I
Yes,
really like that. I really like that sarcastic sense of humor.
they're
Because
also they're
yeah.
playful. They're playful, and they they've chalked up all the walls in my hallway and in my bedroom.
Oh, they're like children.
They're like
Yeah,
children.
yeah.
In fact,
Thank
actually,
God they're not using markers.
no, this
That's
is
really
chalk.
hard.
In fact, actually, right down here, you can't see it, but they drew a picture of a Ponte made of chalk, but they put little eyes and put a hand out like that. And it's literally right there.
Oh
These
my
walls
God.
right behind me are completely covered in chalk, with chalk drawings, and this wall here is all chalk drawings. It's in my bedroom. If you saw the back of my bed, it's just nuts.
Oh
It,
my. Did you do that on purpose for them, or did they just pick it up because it was out?
what the
The
chalk
chalk.
drawing?
Uh huh. Uh
They
huh.
did it. They just did it one day. I
That's
didn't
so
didn't
funny.
even realize what the hell was going on, and all of a sudden I'm looking at, wait, my walls are all written up in chalk, and then I start
Um,
seeing all these Ponte handprints, these four-fingered, prints and streaks all over the walls. It's like, what have you guys been up to?
I am going to leave chalk out next to my walls and see what happens. So
They
that's
brought their
amazing.
own. So
Oh, they did. Oh, how funny! Awesome. Um, the pictures. Just before we move on, do
yeah.
you draw those?
No,
or do
these
you
are
know
all.
somebody?
That's all the artwork of Sue Walker. She does all these portraits.
Oh, that's amazing. I wish I could draw. I've tried to draw actually my Octurian guide and a couple others, and I'm not that great at it, so I don't share it
Mhm.
because but that's amazing. Wow. What a cool lady.
Yeah.
So we already talked about oh, you have experiences with other supernatural beings other than ET or interdimensional beings too. I know that we have another similarity, and that was with the Fae and the fairies.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's remarkable how similar these pictures and video, like my video footage and your picture you showed. I don't remember if you showed me a video, but it was like extraordinarily similar. Um, so that's cool. Did that happen like along the same time frame, or did this happen afterwards? Was it a before your encounters with the ET?
My first encounters with the Fae, with the fairies, was at the Psychic Sasquatch Conference in Chewela, Washington, 2019. And
Okay.
so I was with Darrell Stokes, who he was given the ability, the gift of photographing the unseen world. And then all of a sudden, he was able to photograph orbs and fairies and light beings and other strange anomalies. And so he's like, Kev, let's go out and take some pictures. And so we went out that one night, and we took over 200 pictures and just thousands and thousands of orbs. Some of the pictures looked like a snowstorm, literally, of orbs. And then we captured one of them with all these orbs. There happened to be flying right past me, and it was the size of my head. It looked like a huge butterfly. It was a fairy. It was a light being fairy, the size of my head.
Oh my gosh, that's so. Do you think that they're plasma, or do you not know?
Fairies? No,
Yeah.
they
Mhm.
just operate in a different dimension, but they
Okay.
are very real. I mean, I found other pictures that Darrell took that night of some fairies, um, and I have other pictures that from other people of the fairies because they look like light beings.
Hmm.
And one of my friends, she lives in Arkansas, which is a very highly paranormal place. And she's captured on her outdoor camera fairies. And I've got actual live video footage of these fairies flying in front of the camera.
I think that they do it on purpose. I think that they choose people that are aware and who they feel safe enough to, like
Yeah.
your friend you were talking about, which it just feels like a gift. All of this feels like a gift too.
I,
It did.
I have
Yeah.
two statues of fairies on my counter.
Yeah, me too. Fairy statues too. I love the Fae. They show up here too, obviously here too. So that's
Let me go get it. Hang on.
okay.
There we go.
Oh, that's a very pretty one. I've been fascinated with the Fae ever since I was a kid. Always a reason. How
Yeah,
pretty.
yeah, she's beautiful.
Yeah.
There we go.
Um. Oh, here's another question. We were chatting or communicating on Facebook, and you had said goodbye or no, thank you in the Ponti's language. Is that
TT.
some? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which I think is so cool. I mean, I do light language, but I half the time, if I'm like really rolling on it, sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying. If I'm like really focusing, I know what I'm saying. But how did figuring out or learning their language come to be? Is that something they taught you or
They have a few phrases which they've taught people, and it's on their website, Official First Contact.
okay?
So teak teak is actually a word that they have borrowed from the bird people, from the avians. So it's kind of like a tapping of the beak.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And so they have other phrases that they've taught us. Ki WH, Kiwa, is what they call us, which translates to water people, because we live on a water planet.
Oh,
So,
cool. Water's been coming up so much, and if Stone is listening, she's going to giggle because it's been coming up a lot lately. So
okay.
that's funny that we are the water people. Awesome. So you mentioned Sasquatch convention.
Yes.
Is that something you've experienced, and have you experienced it
Yes.
by capturing it, like looking, seeing it, or feeling?
That's kind of, it's kind of complex. See, I've, because of my radio show, I've had a lot of experiencers who are the spokespeople for the Sasquatch people. So I've interviewed Sunbo, John Letellier, who wrote the Sasquatch Message to Humanity book series, which I highly recommend to everybody. Basically, it's telepathic translations of from Camus, who's an ancient 10,000-year-old Sasquatch, and then Jean Sunbo, he translated these conversations from him into a book. So, and it's basically Camus is giving the history of our entire species and our going back to the history of our planet when it was still Pangea, one continent. It's a great book. Yes, I've had contact with the Sasquatch, and they actually showed up in my apartment and in an astral, into interdimensional form, and then it came over to me. I could feel something lying on my side, and this big arm went around my back, wrapped itself around me, and telepathically I heard this huge grunt, this, and my whole body vibrated. I got a hug from a Sasquatch.
Oh, I've actually heard that before from people who are ready and are accepting that they've been actually hugged by these beings before. So that's amazing. Yeah, I don't know if this is what it was supposed to be, but mermaids, water elementals. So I feel like the elemental realm is a huge spectrum to me in my eyes.
Absolutely.
So, do you think that some of the Sasquatch are considered elemental as well, or in that same realm, or are they completely different?
No, they're not elementals. They are a physical and dimensional being. Okay. So they can easily step from being in the physical into a dimensional state. So they can flip between both, whatever they want. That's why you can be like, following a set of Sasquatch footprints, and then all of a sudden they just disappear, or you might just find one footprint.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Now, elementals, fairies that would fall into elementals, I believe.
Yeah.
I also had an experience where I went to the Lake Ontario, to do a meditation, and I have my guitar, and I was getting into a state to be able to play, and I just invited any elementals who wanted to show up to be there. And when I opened my eyes and I looked up, and right across the sky, right across Lake Ontario, was one cloud that stretched for 2 miles. It was a dragon, full dragon, with scales along its neck, breathing fire. It had 2 wings. It had 2 little hands where the off the wings, and it had legs. And it was 2 miles long. It was the only cloud in the sky, and I got pictures of it. I was just blown away.
Yeah, I've experienced something very similar too when I'm connecting with the dragons. They will show up in cloud form, and it's like, even if you ask a normie, like, what does this look like, without me saying anything, so there's got to be something there. So that And the music. Let's talk a little bit about the music too,
Sure.
because I use music to connect with all kinds of beings. I am not a musician. I do like sound therapy, but I don't consider that being a musician. But I do feel like they appreciate music, and that it's like one of those universal languages that everything can connect with and appreciate. I feel like I get more activity in the sky. I feel like I get more activity down here when I'm playing it for them.
Yeah.
So let's talk about you play the music to the different beings. Is this a practice you do a lot, or have was that just a one off?
Well, my music itself is instrumental music.
Mm-hmm.
So it's instrumental rock, but my guitar lead melodies are very melodic melodies, so that anybody can listen and pretty much anybody could be able to sing along with the melodies.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole key. And that's also another teaching from the Ponte in regards to tonal language and the nature of tonal music. So when I play guitar melodies, I want them to be able to sing that somebody can recognize immediately and be able to hum and hear in their head and want to repeat those melodies over and over. And in fact, actually, Tani, she wrote to me as well, and I wrote it out exactly what she told me about tonal language. And I'll quickly read it to you.
Okay.
Tonal languages. In tonal languages, harmonic variations on repeating themes is strongly utilized. Repeating phrases in music is like rhyming phrases in spoken language, and allow memorization and accurate retelling of the original story, easier to learn and remember. Besides the intent of your emotional sending out beyond the edges of time, your musical story needs an introduction, climax, and an ending. Use this idea of repeated musical phrases and themes so clearly that your audience can easily recall it and hum it all the way home. In your musical writing, set the intent of desire to feel the story within the physical body of your audience by creating a musical phrase they want to repeat and repeat in their thoughts and memories, feel inside themselves spontaneously. I hope this concept is clear to me.
Wow, that's beautiful. That was very clear. That was very clear, and I can resonate with that completely. Um, Wonderful. So your music, since we're on the topic of music, um, were you playing music before these interactions and contacts started to happen, or this is this something that you started to learn afterwards? And I know we talked a little bit of what I call channeling. They're like mostly for all the records you've recently put out have been inspired by these beings and your interactions with them. Yeah.
Yes, the creation of pyramids on Mars was a purposeful intent of my musical creation to also raise awareness of the ET presence. And thus, that's why I called the band Pyramids on Mars, because there actually are pyramids on Mars. There's many pyramids on Mars, which is well known and well documented. So I thought that image was a really cool image. And then my instrumental music was, that. I started writing my first album in 2011, and then it was through that it was because I was creating this from brand new, and it was a learning process for me. But the melodies that I was coming up with were very emotional and very powerful, and that's why afterwards, when Tini explained to me that I was communicating at a telepathic level, I just wasn't consciously aware of it.
Yeah. I don't think we're ever, not until we're aware of these types of things are we aware that most of the times we are channeling or telepathically connecting with other, even if that's our higher self. So do you believe that this accentuated that musicality, the experiences afterwards? Like you obviously had some experience with music first. But do you think after the contact and the communication, it accentuated your ability to play?
Yes, it did in a funny way, because I have a lot of concerts, Pyramids of Mars concerts here in my condo for the Ponte. Now they show up, but they're invisible. I can't see them. Okay, but they
Mhm.
have left evidence of them actually being here when I've had these concerts. And when I do a show for the Ponte, it's a full show. I mean, I fully dress. I got like a goth kilt I wear. I put on makeup. I've got a banner behind me. I've got stage lights. I got everything that goes on for a perfect, really awesome show. And then afterwards, then I get the feedback from Sue Walker from the Ponte in regards to what they really liked about the show. And they always tell me that the telepathic level is always on par. They're amazed at the blistering speed of my fingers. But the one thing that they complain about is you need more dance moves.
You're like, give me some more stuff to do, please.
They want me dancing more, and so that they can dance with me, because they love dancing. So they have signature dance moves for each song, so that they can get up and do the same thing as what I'm doing.
Oh
That's
my
something
God.
they love dancing, so it's a big part of it. So it's like, oh, I can never satisfy you
Yeah,
guys.
no, that's amazing. I've actually felt that about some of these beings because when I'm dancing around and acting foolish and trying to connect, I get like these confirmation tingles just from dancing. So my jest from that was that they're dancing with me, and I can actually feel beings around me like getting down and dancing. So that's cool
Oh,
that
they
you just
love
confirmed.
music.
Oh no! Oh no, where did he go? Oh, you guys don't want to just see me up here talking? Oh, there, here we are. Good. Okay. All right.
There we go.
What happened? Okay, you're back. Awesome.
Yep.
So yeah, they love music and they love dancing. That's awesome. I just had my table. Remember how before I said I was trying to connect with them because I've never met them and I don't interact with them beforehand because I knew you were
Mm-hmm.
coming. My table just started shaking not too long ago.
Oh,
So
oh,
somebody's here.
oh,
Somebody's
good.
here trying to get our attention. So that's awesome.
Great.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so let's take this. We're gonna take like a left turn, and I'm gonna ask you about my lab, some of your my lab experience.
Uh,
But before we go on to the experience, for those people listening or watching that do not understand what my lab is, could you just give like a brief description and then go on and tell us about
sure.
any experience you can?
Sure. My lab stands basically for military abduction. That's what that is. So when there are different experiencers who have had my lab experiences depending on what programs that were in. I have a lot of friends who were part of former secret space program people, and that's a whole community of its own. And a lot of people from there experience things like MyLabs, MK Ultra, brainwashing and programming, and psychological torture, military abductions, and all kinds of stuff. Um, I experienced a MyLab a couple years ago. So yeah, it happened right here in my condo, actually.
And would you say that these are more negative experiences rather than positive encounter?
Well, it was definitely was not positive, and it was invasive.
Mhm.
Basically, I I went to bed one night, and instead of falling right asleep, I end up falling into the alpha theta state, right? And one thing I can pick up once I'm in the alpha theta state, because I have a lot of my ET visits in that state, it's very easy to pick up masculine energy from feminine energy. Okay, that's the first thing I can pick up. I can also pick up whether it's Earth Terran or extraterrestrial. This definitely, when I went to the state, it was male presence. It was two males, and it felt Earth human, very Earth human. But then I heard telepathically, I heard military boots stepping around my bed. And then I'm like, what's going on here? And then I felt somebody was on my right-hand side, and then there was somebody who was on my left-hand side. And as I could hear this all telepathically, I couldn't see them. And then I heard something being taken out of a metal box, like a toolbox. And then the person on the right said, "Don't move." And then he sprayed, very quickly, he sprayed something up my nostrils. And then at that point, I was really annoyed and angry, and I was trying to break free. And at that point, I realized I was paralyzed. And then I got the side thoughts from the guy on my left-hand side to the other guys. He was thinking, telling him he's trying to break free. And at that point there, then they both disappeared. I just kind of slowly woke up out of this state, and they were gone.
So, do you think that this is happening to more of us and we're not realizing it because we are having contact, pre-open contact, I guess?
It's funny you mentioned that, because I interviewed UFO researcher Grant Cameron just a few months ago.
Okay.
And I told folks on my radio show, I was disclosing about the attacks that I've had. And he then disclosed that he had the exact same experience as me, where he was got into an altered state like I was. And in that altered state, he then experienced a military guy on a computer behind him. And then Grant telepathically talked to him and said, have you effers, the F word, he said, have you guys learned to hack reality? And all of a sudden that military guy was gone. And then it happened a second time with Grant, but this time there was 3 military people who were standing behind him when he was in this altered state. And they basically threatened his life. So yeah, it has happened to not just myself, but other people too.
Yeah, they don't like being seen, I'm guessing, or known. And with you two witnessing what was happening to you means that you're capable of breaking out of whatever something making me not want to talk. Something you're able to break out of whatever kind of mind control they have. I mean, we're all under mind. Let's be honest here. We're all under mind control, and those of us who work hard enough to break out of it are the ones that can, in my opinion, can perceive these kind of things happening that we're not supposed to.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. It makes me angry, but hopefully this will come to some kind of end soon. As far as like the negative experiences.
Well, I also had an experience with a man in black too.
Oh, let's hear this.
Okay, this is a good one, but it's not. There's a bit of a twist to it. Okay, so a couple years ago, I met a couple of experiencers here in Hamilton who had seen some of my videos, and then when they found out that I lived in the same town as them, they wanted to meet with me in person. And so we met down at this cafe. It's Mulberry Cafe on James Street in Hamilton, and we met for about 2 hours, and we were sharing different stories. Then at the end, when we had to pack up and go, we were in this back room, and then I went to the front to throw my coffee cup out, and then when I turned around to face the 2 guys, this gentleman came walking out from behind in that back room, came around the corner, turned, and immediately made eye contact with me. And he was a shorter gentleman with, he must have been in his 70s, with gray curly hair and baby blue eyes. And he was wearing this like Australian like black duster, very long black coat, and this cowboy hat. And he was smiling, and then he walks up to me, and he puts his fist up like this and says, "Hey, how's it going?" And then we kind of do this fist pump thing. And then he turns and he starts walking out the front door. Now, I immediately knew that this guy was Earth. He was not Earth Terran. He was some kind of extraterrestrial. I could feel it by his energy, because I had experienced something similar to that a few years ago when a friend of mine, Nancy Tremaine, she's also an experiencer, she and I were at a UFO conference, and we manifested two extraterrestrials who showed up and were talking with us, but they showed up as human, but they were really awkward and oddball, and there was something that was off about them. We found out later on that they were ETs, and it's a long story anyway. So I knew that this guy was like extraterrestrial. And so he walks out the front of the cafe. I see him turn to the left. He looks down at his watch, and I said to the guys, "I'll be right back." I run out the front door, and I turned because I wanted to talk to this guy, and he vanished. He was gone, like this, out in thin air. And I was like, and I started walking down the street, and I was seeing if he went into like one of the stores on the left-hand side. They're all locked because it's a Sunday, so all the stores are closed. And he didn't go across the street on the other side. And I'm wondering, maybe he ran down to the next corner. I ran down to the next corner to see if he had made a run for it. And no, he was not there. He literally vanished. And I was completely freaked out. And so I messaged Sue Walker, and I told her the whole incident of what happened and described what this guy was. And then Maya, 2 days later, I get a message from Sue. She said, "Your friend who showed up at the cafe just telepathically got in touch with me. He's a man in black who works for the Federation. He's one of the good guys. And he is your bodyguard / babysitter." I was like, "What?" "And he has a message for you." And basically the message was that moving forward, whenever I'm in public, I need to be paying attention to the people in my surroundings and monitoring the energies of people, of those who are in my vicinity. Basically, I need to start watching out for myself, because there's going to be nefarious people who are going to be, kind of following me. So that was his message to me.
So some men in black can be, I guess it would be called a double agent.
No, he's not a double agent. No,
Okay.
he works for the Federation.
Okay.
And from another experience, there was somebody else who did a reading on me, said that he actually is from Middle Earth.
Oh, cool. I have experience with Middle Earth people too. There's so much, man. There's so much to this realm. So you think he was able to phase out then, like phase into another dimension, or he just got
Something.
away? Yeah,
He just
something.
vanished. He just completely vanished.
I've had something like that happen too. Before I was even really into any of this, I had someone show up to give me a message, basically tell me to knock my shit off. And he looked more perfect than a normal human. You know what I mean? Like too perfect. There was definitely that air of difference. This
Yeah.
is not a human I'm interacting with. All in white, and in San Francisco, nobody wears that much white in San Francisco because it's dirty. It's a dirty city. Basically, looked at me, said something to me he could not know unless he was in my mind, and basically told me to knock off what I was doing for whatever reason. And literally, I looked away for 2 seconds and looked back, and he was gone.
Wow.
I've been there. It's like, what? And you're looking around like maybe they're walking fast or running, and there's no way there's no way that they walked away that quickly where you can't even see a trace of them. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
man. Can they teach us how to do that next after we learn how to telepathically communicate? Can they?
I hope so. I think they just have an ability of shutting people down, or I don't know how they do it. It's phase shifting, or maybe it's time stopping, because they have the ability to do stuff like that, where they can like slow time down and interact with you, and then only you and nobody else is around is even aware of what's going on, and then time can phase shift back in again.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, we need one. We need some of this.
Yeah.
So great. So do you, okay, in your interactions, do they tell you to relay? I know probably Sue, since she's obviously a channeler for them, she probably gets these, but do you ever get messages to relate to like humanity, to people, the collective? Like, no, like they'll show up and tell you something or telepathically tell you something because they know you're about to talk to people on a podcast or a radio show. Do they ever have anything, or is there a frequent message that they have for humanity?
The messages, they don't come to me, before a show and have a certain, specific message that they'll give to me. My telepathy is not that great that I can have one-on-one conversations with them to hear them really clearly. My telepathy is getting better where I'm able to recognize more voices that are speaking to me that are not my own. So I am getting better at that. So the majority of the stuff that I talk about when I do radio interviews is from everything that the Ponte have taught us on Twitter from those conversations, because I've been following them on Twitter, every day since 2016. So, and that, I take snapshots of, the tweets that they send out when it's important information. And then I've taken those and I've turned them into memes. And I've probably created over 300 memes now of, things that they've taught or said over the years. And then we've turned those into little mini videos, and we have people who are sharing them all over social media to get their messages out.
Beautiful. So a lot of life as divination and clear-cut stuff from Twitter.
Yeah.
So is there one that they repeat a lot, or is there a big one that you want to relate to any of us?
Yeah, the biggest one that they keep talking about is the pending upcoming geological changes with the planet, with the changes with our sun and with our magnetosphere dropping and our poles shifting, and the potential for our planet to tilt. And there will be massive disasters that will happen with mile-high tsunamis flooding most of North America and most of the world. So we are against the clock in regards to these geological disasters, which are cyclical. They happen every 12,000 years, and we are well due for one. And they're warning us that we're going to need help to get through it. And they have rescued us in the past. There's lots of history of these past cataclysms taking place. The Hopi people talk about the ant people taking them underground. And the Zuni tribes talking about being relocated to new areas where new homes were already built, and they were helped with learning how to restart over again. So the Ponte are trying to warn us that we're running out of time, and that's why we need to have disclosure as soon as possible.
Okay. So yeah, I've heard stories about that too, the pole shifts and the upcoming disasters. That seems to be a pretty known thing. I try to ignore it. That's just me.
Well, there's not a lot we
there's
can
nothing
do.
we can do. Yeah, that's why I try to ignore it.
Happen, and it's worse than you can imagine. It's worse than you can imagine. I've seen the demonstrations people who've put in to the planet in regards to what will happen with these, if the planet does tilt 90 degrees, which is what they're anticipating. And the thing is, you have to realize is that the planet Earth is not round, because it spins, so it bulges out at the equator, right? Well, it bulges out about 21 miles. So if you picture North America, South America, what happens when you tilt that 90 degrees? Where's the water going to go?
Right. Okay. It's going to go right into the land. Yeah. Like taking a bottle of water almost, but it's all in the outside. Um, so is there anything that they can do in, like, say they know what's going to happen right away or soon? Is there anything that they can do to help us?
They can relocate us. They can relocate people. They can relocate people, some people underground. Others, they have massive rescue ships that are already parked behind Neptune, so they can relocate people onto these planet-like ships. They also might have the ability to relocate us to other worlds, but they won't be able to rescue everybody on the planet, unfortunately.
Right. No, that would be a huge feat to try and do. I've had images and also confirmation from other people's stories of there being hidden craft here, like on the planet, as like a placeholder in case some kind of disastrous event happens, to where they can be easily accessed. Is that something that they've ever said to you about also?
Not personally, but I do believe that. I mean, they probably do have a lot of other craft here.
Yeah.
They obviously do for
Yeah.
for shorter trips, so to speak.
Right.
So I don't really know how exactly how it would all pan out, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard topic to think about. But
Yeah.
but the Earth has gone through cataclysms before, and
Yes.
she does her thing when she needs to do her thing. So
Yeah.
Death
That's
is an illusion. That's the only thing I'm holding strong to, is that death is an illusion. So we'll just, if it comes to that, we will move on to the next portion of our soul's journey, which is what our souls do.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm going to ask you a question that's pretty, I don't know, it's pretty played out, but I think it's important to find out about contactees and experiencers, their actual opinion on the subject. What's your thoughts on the governmental disclosure happening right now?
I think that with the disclosure, with the Trump administration releasing these batches of information of undisclosed stuff prior, is very good. It's getting people to finally wake up to the fact that these things are real, and they've released a lot of information. So I think that is very positive. I also think that it's also tied together with the Steven Spielberg's release of his new movie Disclosure Day. It's all coming to hilt. I was picked up by the Ponte 4 times over Christmas, and I don't remember the visitations, but there's one thing that I did remember, was that they wanted me to be doing interviews like we're doing today, doing as many interviews as possible to introduce the Ponte to the world, because this year was a very, very important year for disclosure. But back in Christmas, I had no idea what they were talking about. Now, with everything that's happened this year, now I finally understand why there was such a push. So, and I believe that something big is going to happen by 2027. I follow Bashar, Daryl Anka, and he's talked about 2027 as well. And I believe that something more big is going to be happening. So
That was like my next question, or one of my next questions, is your thoughts on open contact happening between 27 and 30, but that's kind of around the same discussion as something more is going to happen.
Yes.
I believe. Okay. Do you think that we'll ever have open contact?
I hope so. I really do. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to happen. The dams are breaking now. So a lot of people are speaking now. A lot more news medias are talking about it as, this is real. Now even in the last 1 or 2 days, Dr. Phil has been given information, and he's going public talking about it. So It's really blowing up more and more. As far as is the mainstream media actually covering it? That I don't know about, because I don't follow the news. Canada, we live in a communist country now, and all the news medias in Canada are government controlled, unfortunately. So we don't get really real information anymore in regards to what's going on in the world. So I don't really know what people in Canada are at, what news they're actually getting about what the Trump administration's been releasing.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, I don't watch it, but I do know that they've been talking about like different types of ET on the news, the mainstream news and stuff. So I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit of a controlled narrative type situation, but I am also very happy that it's coming
It is a
out.
controlled narrative, and that's the other thing that we're monitoring.
Mhm.
And I follow also what Dr. Stephen Greer has to say about it, and he's extremely concerned that they might be setting up the stage for a catastrophic disclosure and false flag alien invasion. So we're still monitoring what their intentions are, if they're still trying to manipulate this, what's going on.
Yeah, that's another fear of mine is that, that blue beam. Yeah. But I feel like we'll know. I feel like the more we're interacting with other beings and things from other realms, the more we become more sensitive to what we're dealing with. Like you've described, you can tell the difference between an Earth or Terran being and a ET. I think
Yeah.
that our psychic abilities just ramp up the more we interact, and also practice like meditation and other life improving practices. So
Yeah.
I feel like if it does happen, we'll know something will feel very off. Because when I interact with the beings I interact with, I don't feel off. So I think that we have that at least going for us.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that you talked a little bit about this, but have you ever been? No, I don't think you did. Have you ever had any experience on a either physical craft or in the astral or dream time, like any of your on ship or craft experiences?
Well, I consciously, physically don't remember being on a craft, but I know that I have been on a craft many, many times because of the confirmations I've gotten from other people who have seen me on board a craft. So, and they saw me on board a craft. And Sue told me back in Christmas that I was taken on board a craft. They took me out for New Year's, actually. So they took me on board a ship, and they took me to basically they really liked watching fireworks. So we went to New York City, and this is what I was told, and we were looking at the fireworks from above, and I was taken by 4 of the Ponte girls. So as Sue calls them, my groupies.
Oh.
Because they come to my show, and we actually have given them a nickname because my last name is Estrella, which means star, and somebody gave them the nickname Las Estrellitas, which is little stars, and they just love that name, so they call themselves Las Estrellitas. I was told that 4 of the Las Estrellitas took me on board a craft to take me to witness different fireworks that were going on. And I was on board this craft, and I was the only Earth Terran on board it. And the other ETs there were wondering, why is there an Earth human here on board this ship? And the girls were like, basically saying, don't worry, he's cool. He's all right. Don't worry. So it's like...
He's in with the crowd. Yeah. That's awesome.
He's cool. He's cool. Don't worry.
I want to be taken out for New Year's. So I'm assuming, just by pure intuition alone, that it's not part of your soul's mission to remember any of your...
It's so frustrating.
Craft. Yeah.
It's so frustrating not being able to remember being on board these ships.
Yeah. I totally agree. I'm always like, when I know that I have been taken or there's some kind of sign or mark on me, or I have a bloody nose for no reason, I'm always like, can't you either A, leave me flowers, or B, give me some memory, even if it's like, what, let me remember this. So
The only thing I'm allowed to remember, Maya, and this is going back, remember, this is Christmas. I'm in Canada. It's winter. And it's like we have snow here. 4 times over Christmas holidays, I woke up with mosquito bites. That's the only thing I'm allowed to remember.
You're like, I was somewhere tropical and warm, maybe. Yeah.
I was taken somewhere warm, obviously.
Yeah. Gosh, I'm always I'm very jealous when people can discuss what they remember fully. So
Yeah, me too.
I have my own experiences, so that's good. All right, I already asked that question. Okay, well, it looks like I got through everything. Thank you so much for coming. I really, really appreciate this. I'm new, and for anyone watching or listening, I'm so sorry. I'm not used to responding to the comments by typing anything in yet. My ability to function different things at the same time isn't quite great yet, but.
Is there any questions that people had in the comment section? I could probably answer a few questions.
I did star one of them. If anyone has any questions or comments, please go ahead and ask now. In the meantime, any final thoughts for you to the collective or anybody watching? From you, not them.
Yeah, I strongly recommend practicing your telepathy, because that's the one language that is universal. It communicates on an emotional wavelength, and it's open, honest communication. The Ponti, it's their way of life is communicating openly, and the honest person in me is speaking to the honest person in you. That's always implied whenever they talk. That's part of their culture. Our culture is not so much like that, where there's a lot of deceptions going on. So they want us to learn. And that's the thing, when you learn telepathy, you cannot hide that, because telepathy is extremely deep. They can read into you subconsciously in regards to what your true thoughts are, and those sub thoughts below that. So once we learn how to speak telepathy, then we will be able to have better communication with them, and then they can come visit. So go to officialfirstcontact.com and download the telepathy primer. It's available in 17 languages.
That's amazing.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, I'm going to go check that out too.
Don't listen to anything that I'm saying. You don't have to believe anything that I told you tonight.
Right.
If you want to have your own experiences, I've given you the key to the Lamborghini. It is up to you. But you have to do the work. You got to practice, 30 minutes a day. Do it in a fun way. If you got a partner that's somebody who's interested to learn it as well, then you can do different things to learn. We used to have a telepathy group. And there's different people in different parts of the world. Each of us would take a turn holding an object, and then we would focus on that object for a minute or two. And everybody then would draw what images and impressions that they're getting from the object that person's holding. You'd be amazed at the accuracy of things that you pick up about those objects. It's a great way to practice.
Yeah, and before we get on to, there's a comment or question right here. Have you noticed that it's picking up? I don't know if you live with anybody or we're extremely close, like personally with anybody, but I feel like I'm noticing it naturally occurring with people I'm close with. Have you noticed that? The ability to have telepathy with other people.
Mm-hmm. My telepathy has been getting a lot better recently, because the Ponti have been working with me to help me develop those skills. And the biggest skill that I've been able to learn is learning how to quiet my own mind and recognize the thoughts that are coming in that are not mine. And it's happening more and more now, where I'm hearing people's thoughts before they say something. And then I'll answer them before they even said something. It says, I've already heard you. I got your impression of your thought. And that's happening more and more, where I'm, reading people, hearing their thoughts before they even speak. And it freaks a lot of people out.
It does. Yeah, I've done that a couple times too. My partner's like, how did you know I was going to ask? I was like, I have no idea.
I heard you.
Yeah. Benno wants to know, what is your favorite media for arting?
Favorite media for what?
Art, doing art or music, any kind of creative. What's your favorite form?
For writing music, I use Ableton Live, Ableton 8. It's an older program. My programs are like, I run on still Windows 7. It's very old. But most of my albums are written on Windows 7 in Ableton Live. That's my recording software. And then I've got a lot of, what do you call it? VST plugins for my stuff. So I play all the instruments on my albums. I do all the drum programming. I play all the keyboards. I play all the drum, all the bass, and that's what I use for writing my music.
Oh, that's
Good
amazing.
question.
Yeah. Let's see here. I don't know if I see any more. Oh, he just said thank you for answering my question. All right, and so again, thank you so much. And first of all, where can people find your music? Because I was looking
pyramidsonmars.com.
Oh, that's way too obvious for me.
You can also find me any streaming platform, Spotify, pretty much anything you can think of. If you type in Pyramids on Mars, you should be able to find my music digitally.
Awesome. So, that was way too obvious for me to look because I was like trying to get to, yeah.
That's a good question. Yeah, good question.
Where can people find you other than the music part?
Yeah, my website, pyramidsonmars.com. You can also follow me, on Facebook, which is Kevin Estrella. So that's Kevin Michael Estrella, actually. I've been getting so many friend requests these days. It's nuts. It kind of worries me sometimes, trying to figure out these people who want to follow me.
Yeah. So. I think people are just being more open about all this stuff, and you seem like someone who knows a lot about it. So, well, thank you so much for coming. And I do have most of the links in the description below to find him. I'll link up his Facebook too down there. So, again, thank you so much for joining me and being patient with me being a little bit awkward. So I appreciate it. Have a very, very lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys. Thank you so much for coming. Everybody who came and listened and watched, and to anybody who will be watching later on the recording. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the journey into the echoes beyond the veil. And yeah, it's been a really, really fun interview. He's a really interesting guy. Thank you so much. And also, we don't all have the same views and opinions, but at least we can be respectful and responsible and discuss these things in a drama and judgment-free environment. So please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, see y'all later.